Beep, beep, beep. The steady electronic rhythm was the last sound he heard as his consciousness faded. What a lonely life it had been. What had he ever done to deserve this? Why did he have to suffer so much? Abandoned by his parents, unable to make friends, no lover, no wife, no children. A life unloved by anyone. With those regrets heavy in his heart. Too weak to even cry out. His body incapable of movement, he could only pray silently within his own mind. If there was a next time. Even a man without faith clings to reincarnation at death's door. Thinking such futile thoughts, he finally let go of consciousness. The world changed. 18 years passed. Viscount Samuel Valois. By the king's command. You are to save the people of our ally, the kingdom of Kenizika, from the dragon that nests there. I hear and obey your majesty's decree. In the throne room of the Kukimi's kingdom, the king issued his imperial decree to a young viscount. 1 month before Viscount Samuel Valois received his decree, a magnificently dressed young man visited the viscount's workshop in the royal capital. He was a prince of the realm, third Prince Noah, son of a concubine, who had just graduated from the capital's noble academy and taken up government affairs. During his school years, he and his twin sister, the fourth princess, had grown close to Samuel, the workshop's master. Sam, been a few days. Prince Noah, you honor my humble workshop with your presence. Drop the formalities. We're friends here. Talk to me like you always do. Just being cautious. And stop complaining about the location. You've said it enough times to make my ears bleed. Though the workshop had only been open a few months, its reputation had already drawn many customers, including noble clients. Samuel often worked the floor himself, earning him a reputation for being unprincely, or rather, unnoble. It was unusual enough that a man who had risen from second son of a baron to head of a viscount house would set up a workshop instead of a mansion. Sam, do you know the situation in Kenizika? Not the details, but I've heard about the dragon. Don't tell me you want me to build weapons to drive it off? Samuel was an engineer, yes, but also a businessman. He'd naturally heard the rumors about their allies' crisis. And if the prince had come to him specifically, it had to be about weapon development. No. Let me just say it. Prince Noah straightened his posture. I hereby command Viscount Samuel Valois, repel the dragon currently infesting the kingdom of Kenizika. This is a royal decree. Refusal is not permitted. What? Samuel stared blankly for a moment before the weight of it hit him. A dragon. The kind of beast that only appeared in the kingdom's most famous night stories that claimed it had never been slain. And he was being ordered to drive one off. Noah, what is this about? Straight to the point, Viscount Valois will depart for Kenizika in 1 month to repel the dragon. You are to provide your own soldiers and weapons. Expenses may be billed to the crown upon completion, though hiring costs and hazard pay for your personal troops are separate. That's insane. Why is this happening to me? There was a council before the throne yesterday. Let me tell you how it went. Thank you all for gathering on short notice. Some of you may have already heard, but let me explain. The kingdom of Kenizika faces destruction from a dragon attack. Lord Chancellor, the situation? Yes, Your Majesty. Reports indicate the dragon has made the capital its nest and has been attacking the surrounding territories and major towns. This is likely due to a dragon's instinct to hoard gold and treasure. A month earlier, a dragon had descended on Kenizika, a neighboring ally of Kyukimi's. Survivors said its wingspan dwarfed the Kenizekan royal palace. Soldiers and knights had charged forward knowing they stood no chance, unwilling to let their homeland fall without a fight. The dragon's tail swept them aside. The king of Kenizika chose to stay and command the defense, but sent his crown prince and princess to Kyukimi's with trusted escorts, ensuring his bloodline would survive. A month later, the exiled royals brought the news. The emergency council was convened. King Adam Kyukimi summoned his generals, his chancellor, and his ministers. They had to decide how to respond. But the debate went nowhere. Raise a dragon-slaying force and retake Kenizika immediately, demanded the marshal, leading the faction for battle. Opposing him, the chancellor argued, there is no record in history of humans ever slaying a dragon. With all respect to our Kenizekan friends, we should focus on accepting refugees, providing aid, and fortifying our own defenses in case the dragon comes here. The marshal, as a military man, naturally argued for battle. But everyone in that room, including the marshal himself, knew slaying a dragon was unrealistic. The chancellor was right, there was no recorded instance of humans killing a dragon. Only reports of catastrophic damage, or rare cases where a dragon was driven off at tremendous cost. The only tales of knights slaying dragons were children's fantasy stories. Not a single person in that room believed such fairy tales. Dragons were treated like natural disasters. I support the chancellor, the finance minister chimed in. I've calculated the cost based on past records of dragon encounters. The compensation for fallen soldiers' families alone could cripple the treasury. Nearly half the force would be annihilated, killed, or deserting. But abandoning an ally without a fight would damage the nation's prestige. There was no good compromise. May I offer an opinion? A young man seated at the far end, third Prince Noah, spoke up. Regarding the dragon, why not appoint Viscount Samuel Valois to the task? He recommended a single person. And everyone in that room knew the name. Young as he was, Samuel was a once-in-a-generation magical engineer, the eccentric genius from a minor border barony. His magical tools had propelled the kingdom forward. Tools for soil improvement and fertilizer production that boosted agriculture, efficient looms and building material processors, high-performance furnaces and material refineries, and weapons that had opened unexplored frontiers. At just 18, he had accumulated achievements enough for any lifetime. Born the second son of a border baron, he had been granted a barony before entering the Noble Academy and elevated to Viscount while still a student. Because his ennoblement was exceptional for his age, his obligations as a noble had been deferred until graduation. Now Prince Noah was recommending him for this. Viscount Valois, you say? I've heard you're close with him from the academy, but may I ask why? The chancellor was curious. Sending someone into a dragon's lair was a death sentence. Why would Noah suggest sending a friend? Despite our friendship, I've investigated thoroughly. His resources and military capabilities are the best suited to resolve this crisis. 3 reasons. First, he is extraordinarily wealthy. He holds a viscountcy without territory, but his inventions have generated enormous funds. He's actually asked me what to do with the surplus. Second, he excels at self-preservation. He is not a great warrior, his direct combat ability is modest, and he cannot use advanced magic. But he always carries multiple magical tools for protection. He is not reckless. If a situation appears hopeless, he will retreat. Even if he fails, the fact that he engaged a dragon will be a political achievement. Third, his weapons might actually work against a dragon. What? The marshal couldn't contain himself. Dragon scales were said to be impervious to any blade or arrow, pierced only by a dragon's own fangs and claws. A dragon's breath incinerated approaching armies. Its tail swept away anyone who crept close. If there was a weapon that could work against such a beast, the supreme commander of the kingdom's military had to know. What kind of weapon? I don't know the details. But I've heard him talk about projectiles fired from long range that create massive explosions. Or piercing bolts with tremendous penetrating power. Why would they work on a dragon? During idle talk at the academy, he mentioned that his weapons were nearing completion. If they performed as expected, they might be capable of driving off a dragon. Even driving off a dragon would be a tremendous achievement. Given the first two reasons, if Samuel failed, no other noble would be harmed. In fact, those who resented the rising young genius would welcome his weakening. Hard to believe, but he is not one to boast. My son, what do you think? The king asked not as a council member but as a father, wanting to know Noah's honest impression of the man. As you say, father. Even in casual talk, he never exaggerates or shows off. If anything, he undersells himself and his achievements. If his weapons perform as he expects, repelling a dragon is possible. Murmurs rippled through the room. Then I propose issuing the order to Viscount Samuel Valois. Any objections? How could there be any? Those concerned about weakening the realm saw it would cost less than mobilizing the royal army, with no casualties among the kingdom's knights. Those who dreaded being chosen themselves were relieved to avoid a death march. Those who resented Samuel hoped he would fail, weakened at no cost to themselves. Your Majesty, wait. The very prince who had recommended him raised a hand. Before issuing the decree, one important matter. His honor and reward. Of course. This will be one of the most difficult missions in history. Even if he fails, his honor must not be tarnished. The kingdom will bear the costs of weapon production and the expedition. But soldier hiring and hazard pay are separate, as they are his personal troops. If he succeeds, he should be rewarded. From our discussions, I suggest at minimum elevation to count. And a promise to grant any reasonable wish that does not infringe on others' privileges. The finance minister objected. But Noah explained, Samuel has little desire for money or material goods. He has more money than he knows what to do with. What interests him is magical engineering. If we attach the condition that his request must not harm others' interests, he won't ask for anything unreasonable. We can always refuse if it does. Samuel's eccentricity as a magical engineer was well known. There was a famous story about him getting so caught up in a technical debate with a dwarf that they talked for 3 days and nights, forgetting to eat and sleep until he collapsed. During his academy days, he had once refused advances from a high-ranking noble girl to focus on his magical tool development, earning the girl's and her family's enmity. Noah and his sister had mediated that dispute. The king agreed. Then speak, let any who object raise their voice. None did. The decree passed. But Noah had concealed one thing during his proposal. No one noticed. That's what happened. You bastard. The guard drew his sword at Samuel's sudden outburst, but Prince Noah stopped him. Let him be. Anyone would react that way when the man who got them sent to kill a dragon stands before them. He's not going to hurt me. As expected of his best friend. He knew Samuel that well. Infuriatingly so. But Sam, I didn't recommend you out of malice. If you had, I would have made a tool to curse you. If you say things like that, my guard will keep making scary faces. Calm down. It's not a bad deal. It's repelling, not slaying. Drive it away. You said your weapons could do it. I have them, yes. So why not send knights or soldiers with my weapons instead? Your weapons require training. And there are security concerns. You can't hand those secrets over to the royal army. Samuel had no comeback. Security was something he took very seriously. And if you fail and flee, your honor is protected. All expenses covered by the crown. Plus, I got father to promise your reward, elevation to count. A first-generation count from a baron's second son, unprecedented. Samuel didn't particularly care about honor, but the count title. He wanted that. He needed it for his real goal. And the second reward, any wish that doesn't harm others' interests. Samuel's eyes widened. If he succeeded, the conditions would be met. His goal might finally be within reach. See, Sam? This is why I recommended you. You understand now, don't you? I needed the fact that you personally went there, risked danger, and drove off the dragon. Samuel nodded vigorously. What a wonderful friend. What a reliable friend. You leave in 1 month. There will be a ceremony and a party before departure. I'll send the details later. Prepare thoroughly. A ceremony and a party. I hate those more than the dragon. Watching Noah leave for the palace. Samuel couldn't help but think the ceremony might be worse than the actual dragon fight. My name is Samuel Valois. I was born the second son of the Valois baronial family, in a remote corner of a March lord's territory. My elder brother has already taken over the family business admirably. I gained independence as a viscount through my past achievements. When I was ennobled at age 12. My family was also elevated from baron to viscount in recognition of my contributions. During my student years, I accumulated more achievements as a magical engineer. When our kingdom was drawn into a war with a neighboring country, I distinguished myself further and was promoted again. From the perspective of any noble, I had walked a dreamlike path of success. But before I was Samuel Valois, I had lived a terrible life. I remember my past life. A different world, one without magic or mana, but with advanced science and technology. Even though that world had been prosperous, I had not experienced a normal childhood. I was neglected by my parents. My classmates despised me for my unkempt appearance. By the time I learned to care about grooming, I was already too old to understand how human relationships worked. I graduated high school, left home, and was taken in by a small-town handyman shop. I barely scraped by, until I died of an incurable disease at 28. But when I opened my eyes, I was a newborn baby in the Valois family. It wasn't a wealthy noble household, but it was better off than commoners. There were hardships, but there was also a happy family. For the first time, I received love from parents, something I had never experienced in my past life. Each time, I felt guilty toward the original Samuel whose body I had taken. But I also grew addicted to that warmth. As atonement, I set myself the goal of leaving Samuel Valois' name in history. Along the way, I added another goal, doing what I had truly wanted to do in my past life. One part of that was making a name for myself as a magical engineer. In my past life, I had repaired farm tools and simple machines. Now, combining the power of magic with that knowledge, I modified existing magical tools and developed new ones. I earned my rank and reputation. One goal was gradually being achieved. Now I was pouring myself into the other, far more difficult one. And suddenly, that goal had landed right in front of me. Noah's recommendation, repelling the dragon. If I could achieve this, the reward would let me fulfill my true wish. I would give it everything. This was the chance of a lifetime. After Noah left, I gathered and analyzed all available information on dragons. I needed to confirm whether my weapons would be effective, and if not, how to improve them. And I needed enough ammunition. It was said that only a dragon's own fangs and claws could damage its scales. Fallen dragon scales from unknown ages had proven impervious to human-made weapons. However, it was also known that high-level magic could wound them, though live combat records showed even high-level magic failed to pierce a living dragon's hide. And the mages were incinerated by counterattacks. I theorized that dragons magically reinforced their bodies. In my past life, I knew creatures that size couldn't possibly fly with those wings. In this world of magic, flying monsters likely used magic to stay aloft. My tests against flying monsters confirmed this theory. If I increased the power, the same approach should work against a dragon. But each weapon was expensive. Even with the remaining time, I could prepare at most 30 rounds. If everything went according to plan, one hit would bring the dragon down, and subsequent shots would wound it assuming they hit. How much damage they would actually do, I wouldn't know until we tried. The original plan was just for repelling. Wound the dragon, make it abandon its attack. But a dragon that had already made its nest and had no intention of leaving. I had to prepare a retreat plan as well. Half a month later, word came from the palace. The ceremony and party would be in 10 days. Why a party in the middle of an allies' crisis? To console the exiled royal family, boost morale for the dragon expedition, and maintain public confidence. The exiled royals probably wanted rescue immediately. But as nobility, they understood the necessity. The day of the ceremony arrived. Dressed in formal attire, Samuel was led by a civil official to the throne room. The doors opened to reveal rows of high-ranking nobles on both sides, the throne empty at the far end. He walked forward and stopped at a respectful distance. A minute of waiting. His Majesty, Adam Cukimes, the 13th king of the Cukimes kingdom entering. Everyone lowered their heads. Samuel knelt and bowed deeply before the throne. Raise your heads. Before Samuel stood the king, with the chancellor and Prince Noah at his side, along with two elegantly dressed strangers. Samuel didn't recognize the crown prince and princess of Kenizika. He would learn. I will speak plainly, as everyone here already knows the situation. 2 months ago, a mighty dragon attacked the capital of Kenizika. The damage was catastrophic. The people fought bravely, but the dragon's power was overwhelming. 1 month ago, the crown prince and princess of Kenizika arrived at our court with news of the attack. The Kenizekan crown prince stepped forward. I am Crown Prince Guernica of Kenizika. My father, the king of Kenizika, led the royal guard to defend the capital and its people. But the dragon was too powerful. It destroyed buildings and took countless lives. The king sent my sister and me as messengers to our ally Cukimes, while he remained to command the front lines. Based on subsequent reports, the king has likely fallen. Though he said messengers, everyone understood they had been sent away to preserve the bloodline. No one pointed this out. I beg you, King Adam, please retake our kingdom from the dragon. The king accepted the plea. Viscount Samuel Valois, step forward. Yes. Samuel rose, advanced before the king, and knelt again. Viscount Samuel Valois. By the king's command, save the people of our ally, the kingdom of Kenizika, from the dragon that nests there. I hear and obey your majesty's decree. The decree was handed from the chancellor to the king, then to Samuel. The decree is issued. All present, honor this brave warrior. Applause filled the hall. I await your faithful courage. With those words, the king departed. His Majesty the king departing. The applause ceased. Everyone bowed. By the time Samuel looked up, the presence before him was gone. Everyone, that concludes the ceremony. A party follows in the grand hall. At the party, nobles mingled and talked. Normally these were social and political battlegrounds. But tonight most had decided to behave considering the occasion. Samuel wished he could be a wallflower. But as one of the main attractions, he wasn't allowed that luxury. Nobles of higher rank came to speak with him one after another. The ceremony had been bad enough, but at least it had set movements and lines. A party required reading the room and responding appropriately. His stomach ached from the strain. Samuel's past life upbringing had left him with poor social skills. Reincarnation had helped a little, but some things were hard to change. My condolences on your burdensome honor, Viscount Valois. If I were 10 years younger, I would have volunteered for the expedition myself. Heh. Lord Marquis leaving the capital would surely inconvenience the civil officials. Liar. I heard that at the council, no one volunteered. I have it from Noah himself. Hiding his inner thoughts, he managed with clumsy flattery. Each interaction made his stomach hurt worse. My territory borders Kenizika. Is there anything I can do to help? March Lord, I'm grateful for your offer. But I'll be using weapons designed specifically for dragons. They're dangerous without proper handling. My personal troops alone will deploy them. If we could just borrow resting grounds along our march into Kenizika, that would be sufficient. The March Lord's lands touched Kenizika. He must be desperate for a resolution. Both out of goodwill and because Kenizika's chaos affected his own territory's stability. Everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. The king arrived, with Noah, Guernica, the Kenizekan princess, and Noah's sister Charlotte in tow. Samuel hadn't seen Charlotte since their graduation from the Noble Academy. She looked troubled about something. Viscount Valois, Lord Guernica wishes to speak with you. Guernica stepped forward. Your ceremony was splendid. Thank you, Your Highness. Being from a border barony, I was worried I might have committed some impropriety. A lie. But a necessary one. I'm told you've risen to defend my homeland. I'm deeply moved by your spirit. You honor me too much. If you succeed in driving off the dragon, would you consider marrying my sister? She is quite accomplished. Why wait? He almost thanked him out of reflex. Why are you surprised? I must take the throne and rebuild immediately if we reclaim our kingdom. Arranging my sister's marriage is my duty as head of the family. No, that's not. If you slay the dragon, you'll be a hero in our kingdom. If you marry my sister, I'll even promise you a dukedom. Please don't throw around royal marriages and dukedoms so lightly. Lord Guernica, if you would. You're troubling my vassal. Noah interjected smoothly. He's my friend and a loyal servant of this kingdom. I can't have him poached by an ally, no matter how friendly. Oh. I thought it was a good offer. What does Viscount Valois think? Samuel glanced at the princess behind Guernica. She was beautiful, about his age, and when their eyes met, she smiled gracefully. Does the Viscount already have a fiancé? She's welcome to come as a second wife. No, I don't have a fiancé. That much, he had to make clear. Lord Guernica, you're teasing him too much. He can't answer freely with both royal families present. Fair enough. I'll let it go for now. But think it over. Good fortune to you, Viscount Valois. The Kenizekan guests departed. Samuel was directed to a rest room, and Charlotte was asked to escort him. Fourth Princess Charlotte, please show him. At your service, brother. Charlotte walked ahead. Her lovely lavender hair swaying behind her, the same light purple he'd seen so often during their school days. Please, have a seat. Thank you. Samuel sat, relieved to finally catch his breath. Across the table sat Princess Charlotte, fourth princess. Noah's twin sister, with her distinctive lavender hair. She always treated everyone with warmth and kindness. Beneath that gentle exterior, she was intensely curious. If she saw something unfamiliar, she couldn't help but approach and examine it, often worrying her guards and servants. She always looked delighted at Samuel's magical tools. Let me pour you some tea. Though a servant prepared the tea set, Charlotte insisted on pouring the tea herself. Princess, you shouldn't. A humble viscount like me cannot accept such an honor. Nonsense. Remember when we used to have tea together in our school days? I always poured. Why should it be different now? But we were students then. Now you are a princess, and I am merely a viscount. Even so, I want to pour tea for you. Will you indulge my selfishness? No one could refuse a princess who said that. The servants didn't even try to stop her, perhaps because this was a common occurrence. Very well. Charlotte finished pouring and offered Samuel a cup. Following the etiquette Noah had taught him during their school days, Samuel took a sip. This taste, it brings back memories. Though it hasn't even been a year. The reason no one stopped her? Her tea was simply delicious. And that taste brought a wave of nostalgia. I used the same tea leaves from our school days. Brother told me you've been under a lot of stress. He asked me to look after you. Charlotte smiled. Actually, I chose the leaves myself. I thought a familiar taste would be more comforting. Was there another blend you'd prefer? Your thoughtfulness warms my heart. Right now, this is the most soothing, welcome taste I can imagine. I'm glad. Samuel hadn't expected to taste this tea again. But it's strange. After graduation, I asked Prince Noah about the brand and variety of these leaves. But no matter how I tried, I could never replicate the taste. I asked professionals, experimented myself, nothing worked. Charlotte was surprised. Surprised that he had wanted to drink it again. Surprised that the great magical engineer had taken time to try and replicate her tea. Is there some special technique you use? If so, I'd be grateful to learn it. That would be a secret. Of course. Forgive my impertinence. Perhaps the tea had loosened his tongue, making him forget himself. No, it's not that, it's just. I don't think you could manage it, Samuel. What does that mean? She can do it, but I can't? Even professionals couldn't replicate it. Maybe it's a woman's touch? Should I ask a female tea master instead? Charlotte could tell from Samuel's expression that he was overthinking again. That was so like him. If you ever want to drink it again, visit the palace. I'll always pour for you. That's. Princess, I'm not important enough to visit the palace freely. If I came just to drink your tea, I'd lose my head. Then come on business with my brother. That should be fine, shouldn't it? Perhaps occasionally, but not often. I never asked you to come often. But the fact that you want to says a lot. Princess, please stop teasing me. I could be punished for disrespect. Samuel blushed as he scolded her. Hee, forgive me. I just enjoy seeing you flustered. Taking another sip, Samuel felt the tension drain from his body. Was it the tea's effect, or their conversation? The day's stress slowly melted away. Then Charlotte's tone shifted. Samuel, about what happened earlier. Yes? Will you marry the Kenizekan princess? What? Why would you think that? You were right there. Your gaze seemed fixed on her. She is beautiful, so it's only natural. No. Guernica just happened to draw my attention at that moment. I wasn't captivated by her at all. But you insisted quite firmly that you have no fiancé. It sounded like you were open to the arrangement. Of course I made that clear. Guernica had the wrong idea. I needed to state the facts. I never imagined it would be interpreted that way. May I trust you? Yes. Every word I say is true. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief. Then, steeling herself, she addressed her servants. I have an important matter to discuss. It involves sensitive information. Please leave us alone. Your Highness, we cannot. Unmarried. Man and woman alone in a closed room, especially one of royal blood, it's out of the question. I'm wearing protective magical tools. And you know the Viscount carries no weapons. If anything happens, I'll call for help. Please, just this once. Reluctantly, the servants relented, warning Samuel not to betray their trust. Samuel swore by his God a serious oath in this world. One that carried real consequences if broken. Once alone, Charlotte's expression grew troubled. I wanted to talk about the decree. Why did Father give you such a mission? It's like ordering you to die. Noah recommended me because he believed in me. I know. But he should understand your abilities better than that. Sending you to the front lines against a dragon. I will come back alive. Noah only recommended me because I had a realistic chance against the dragon. It's still too much. Charlotte fought back tears. If she cried now, the servants might misunderstand. At the first sign of real danger, I'll retreat. I've prepared for that. You know me, I never neglect my preparations. And there's a reason I need to go personally and succeed. Why? That's something I'm not sure I should say. For now, let me keep it a secret. He didn't want to admit he was doing this for a reward, especially not the nature of that reward. Then I won't ask. But please take this. Charlotte brought a box from the corner of the room and placed it before him. Inside was a plain scarf dyed in light purple, with an embroidered name, Samuel Valois. The color matched her hair. He remembered. The kingdom's most famous knight tale, a knight setting out to slay a dragon, an impossible feat. His lady gave him a scarf the color of her hair, embroidered with his name as a prayer for his safe return. This is from that story. It's not a slaying, but I wanted you to have a charm for your safety. Charlotte, thank you. Overcome, Samuel slipped and used her name as he had during their school days. He wrapped the scarf around his neck, placed his fist over his heart, and bowed. I will return. I swear it. He left the rest room. He did not return to the party. He began his preparations for departure. His resolve was fixed. He would slay that dragon. The day after the ceremony, Samuel led his forces out of the capital. Only 200 men. To anyone watching, it seemed pathetically few for a dragon hunt. But Samuel believed that against a dragon, numbers only meant more casualties. And he only had 30 prototype weapons. Most of the troops would serve in support roles. During the march, a rider drew up beside him. Samuel, I heard you had quite a day yesterday. Gilbert. Gilbert Henault, third son of a baronial house under the same March lord as Samuel's family. A year older than Samuel, he had offered his services as an officer when Samuel was granted his barony. The March lord had recognized his potential and approved. I heard you handled the ceremony with grace. Hard to believe this is the same man who couldn't meet anyone's eyes when we first met. Don't tease me. You know I'm bad with people. And yet I heard you spoke with a marquis. and that the Kenizekan princess was offered to you as a wife. How did you hear about that? It's the talk of the town. Everyone in this unit knows. Give me a break. Lucky man. Marrying a princess, even if from a neighboring kingdom. And she's said to be beautiful. Plus a dukedom. That was just Guernica's lip service. Dangling a reward to motivate someone heading into danger. It was said before the king. I think he was serious. Even so, I have no interest. And it's only if I succeed. Fail and it's all moot. A shame. I could have risen with you, Duke. Gilbert's eyes drifted to Samuel's neck. That's a fine scarf. Since when do you accessorize? Samuel never wore decorative items. A fine purple scarf, somehow unblemished despite the journey, stood out. Oh, this? With everyone watching our departure, I can't look shabby. And we'll pass through towns. Of course. For a moment, I thought it was a charm from a woman, like in that old story. Gilbert smirked, knowing he'd hit the mark. Not that it could be. I only know one woman with purple hair who's close to Samuel. And the idea of her giving you a scarf is absurd. All right. Absurd. I'll ride ahead and check the road. Let me show you how a diligent knight serves his lord. Go on. I'm counting on you. Gilbert galloped ahead to scout. Samuel touched the scarf. Maybe it was too obvious. But how could he not wear it? She had given it as a charm. If he hid it and she found out, she'd be hurt. The march proceeded smoothly. Thanks to the March Lord's cooperation, they crossed the border without incident. 2 weeks out of the capital. The small force moved faster than expected. When they reached the first town in Kenizika, the truth hit them. The town was dead. No trade. No young people. Those who could flee had fled further inland or to Kukimis. Only those who couldn't run remained orphans. Elderly, and local artisans who couldn't restart their trades elsewhere. This is terrible, Gilbert muttered. Those left couldn't escape or didn't want to. At least the desperate troublemakers have gone, so order isn't bad. But this is a dying town. Refugees flowed from the capital's direction but never stayed. They kept moving away from the danger. We'll find a place to rest for the day. I have authorization from the Crown Prince. That should smooth things over. Understood. And tighten security on the supplies. I don't want anyone accidentally triggering the weapons. Even if civilians couldn't actually operate them. Losing even one to theft could compromise the mission. How much worse will it get before we reach the capital? Samuel muttered to himself. A week later, they reached the last town before the capital. Or what had been a town. Collapsed buildings, scorch marks, the smell of burnt flesh. The rubble spoke of a once prosperous settlement. Now it was a ruin. The town's wealth had made it a target. Samuel wanted to distribute supplies to survivors. Gilbert stopped him. Samuel, don't. I understand your feelings, but we're 200 men. We brought extra provisions, but there aren't nearly enough to help everyone. And one-time charity won't fix anything. When we come to rebuild, that's when we help. For now, diverting even a single resource lowers our chances against the dragon. You're right. Let's skip the town. It won't help morale to stay here. They camped at a distance. Samuel explained the situation to his troops, and they accepted it. But resentment lingered. The next morning, Samuel prepared to depart. But first, he took out a magical tool, a megaphone, designed to carry sound far and wide. Everyone, can you hear me? This tool amplifies my voice. People of the town, can you hear? We are heading to fight the dragon. He wanted both his soldiers and the townspeople to listen. You might know I'm not a great speaker. But I'll say what I feel after seeing this devastation. This whole mission is reckless. We all know it. Even I'm scared. The more I researched dragons, the more terrifying they seemed. So if anyone wants to flee, go ahead. I'll record it as a medical withdrawal. No punishment. He felt morale drop. But we have the best chance in the kingdom. Maybe the only chance. If we don't go, no one will. And if no one stops the dragon, our kingdom will be next. Look at this town. I don't want our home to become this. So I fight. Not for glory. Not for legend. To protect the people I care about. He spoke from the heart. He couldn't tell them he planned to slay the dragon, not just drive it off. That obsession had to remain his alone. To the people of this town, I'm sorry we can't help you now. I know you're suffering. But we will deal with the dragon. Don't lose hope. Don't give up. He didn't know if they could hear. But he had to say it. Move out. A moment of silence. Then a roar. I'm not running. I've got a wife and kid. I promised to marry her when I get back. I'll die before I'm called a coward. Viscount. Buy me a drink when we get home. The soldiers shouted their reasons for fighting. And from a distance, faint voices reached them. Please. Avenge us. We'll survive too. Avenge my son. We'll wait for your victory. Let's go. Samuel, that was a fine speech. Morale is at its peak. Stop it, Gilbert. I just said what needed saying. He was sincere, which made it worse. Gilbert shook his head. He wished Samuel had more confidence, but that humility was also why serving him felt worthwhile. Morale is up. What's the plan? Weapons don't work well in forests. There's a hill ahead. We'll take position there and attack when ready. But I want to lure the dragon away from the capital first. I'll be the decoy. Are you sure? Someone has to. It can't be you. And as your right hand, I need to take the biggest risks. Otherwise no one will respect me. The logic holds, but don't die. I can't die yet. I haven't gotten my promotion. From the hill, they saw it. The capital lay in ruins. At its center, a colossal dragon. The reports said it was as big as the palace. It wasn't an exaggeration. 20 meters long, at least. With wings spread, bigger. They set up position on the hill. Samuel briefed the squad leaders. The new weapons were prepared and distributed in scattered groups to avoid being incinerated in one-breath attack. Each squad had a shooter and a loader. And backups in case the shooter fell. First shot, a round designed to ground the dragon by disrupting its magic. Second shot, an armor-piercing round to wound it. Third shot, an explosive round to widen the wound. Then unload everything left. If the dragon still didn't flee, they would scatter and retreat. Simple. If brute force didn't work, run. The new weapons were tube-shaped magical tools, essentially rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs. Samuel had based the design on a story from his past life where an RPG drove off a dragon. He didn't realize the design was only vaguely similar and functionally different. The rounds could be swapped for different effects: magic disruption, armor piercing, explosion on impact. But the tools only worked for magic users. Only 1 in 10 people could use magic. And Samuel had managed to recruit 60 such soldiers for this mission. The weapons were ready. But as they took their positions, the dragon took flight. It was looking directly at them. Impossible. It's too early for it to sense our hostility. Scatter and take aim wherever you are. Shoot on my signal. It was coming straight for them. Samuel locked eyes with the dragon. Not his imagination. It can sense valuable items. Not just gold, it knows the value of things. And I'm carrying the most magical tools. Samuel had become the decoy instead of Gilbert. But if he knew its target, he could use that. It wants me. Shoot on my signal. Too dangerous. Retreat. There's no safe place here. The dragon entered their range. Their effective range was longer than the dragon's breath. Fire. The first volley struck true. Growlingy? The dragon lost power and began to plummet. Its magic for flight had been disrupted. It's down. Prepare second volley. Stunned and confused, the dragon didn't move. Second volley. Fire. Armor-piercing rounds struck home. G-G-G-Jar-Wee-Wee-Wee-Wee-Wee. It writhed, trying to dodge, but the shots landed on its body. How is it? Gilbert checked through a far-seeing magical tool binoculars. The rounds are penetrating the scales. But it's larger than expected, doesn't seem badly hurt. Unexpected, but not surprising. At least the first shot had worked. The dragon shook off its confusion and stood. Dragons couldn't speak human language, but their intelligence was said to rival or exceed humans. The dragon thought. On command, it had been brought to the ground. On command, it had been wounded. The apes had never heard it before. Rage nearly overwhelmed it, but it forced calm. It understood who the leader was. The one who gave the commands. The one who smelled best. It took a step toward Samuel. Then another. Third volley. Fire. Explosive rounds struck simultaneously. The dragon screamed. A different kind of impact. How is it now? Some scales have flaked off at the impact sites. But the surrounding area is undamaged. The penetration wounds are too small to have much effect. Tougher than expected. Fire everything left. Don't miss. They fired all remaining armor-piercing and explosive rounds. The dragon kept coming. It dodged shots aimed at its head by shaking its neck, but it didn't retreat. Why won't it leave? It can't fly, so why doesn't it turn back? Ammunition was nearly gone. The dragon kept advancing. When its magic returned, it would fly again, and there would be no escape. What do I do? How did the heroes in those stories kill dragons? He recalled the stories from his past life. None of their methods applied to his situation. No. There was one. One that might actually work. He remembered a protagonist who had used an absurdly reckless method. And the dragon's behavior, he saw a chance. Gilbert. I need you to do something after I give the next order. Anything. Samuel explained his plan. Absolutely not. Let me do it. You can't use magical tools. It has to be me. Then someone else who can use them. They won't know where to aim. Then let's retreat. I can still be the decoy. You can escape safely. I've already decided. I'm killing this dragon. I have to. I'm counting on you, Gilbert. Fine. But when this is over, you owe me. Deal. You'll get your reward. Samuel grabbed the megaphone. All units. Load explosive rounds. Aim at the dragon's feet. Then use remaining armor-piercing rounds on its body. No more explosives. Understood? Aiming at its feet? To make it trip? They didn't understand, but followed orders. The shots exploded at the dragon's feet, kicking up clouds of dust and smoke. The dragon was furious. The apes had grounded it. The apes had hurt it. The apes were trying to steal its nest. Its treasure. Past dragons that had been driven off had arrived recently and hadn't built nests yet. They left because swarming, relentless humans were annoying. But this dragon had nested for 3 months, gathered treasure, had something to protect. These apes had wounded it. If it retreated now, its nest might be taken. It had to kill them all. The apes changed tactics. Explosions at its feet. Trying to make it fall since it couldn't fly. Pathetic. Then the leader ape's smell shifted. Different from the others. Probably charging in for a direct attack. The explosion was cover for a charge. Stupid apes. They didn't realize it could smell their equipment even blind. The attack would never reach it. And once it got close, it would show them real terror. Crack. 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 The breath that turns all life to ash. Taste it. The charging ape's scent vanished. Just faint traces of equipment remaining. It would collect those later. Now for the leader. The leader hadn't even tried to run. Probably frozen in fear. Fine. It would make a good meal. The dragon took a step forward. And consciousness ended. A moment earlier. The explosives hit. Your turn. Samuel, come back safe. Samuel handed Gilbert all but 3 of his magical tools. With his right hand bound to an RPG launcher by the purple scarf, he ran toward the dragon. A speed-enhancing tool originally meant for running away now carried him toward the monster. The dragon would sense someone approaching. And when a blinded enemy sensed something coming. Crack. 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 The dragon was preparing its breath. Samuel deployed a fire-resistant barrier just in time. The breath hit. The barrier held, but he still felt the heat. As the breath ended, he destroyed 2 of his tools. To cut off the magic signature. The dragon began moving toward where it thought Samuel was. Samuel reached its front leg and looked up. There. He remembered the protagonist who had driven a sword into a dragon's leg while being bitten. He'd noticed the dragon's abnormal reaction when protecting its neck. It dodged shots aimed there far more carefully than elsewhere. For a dragon this size, that pattern was unmistakable. A single inverted scale on its throat. The dragon's weak point. The reverse scale. He aimed. Pulled the trigger. The armor-piercing round flew true, piercing the reverse scale. The dragon stopped moving. Slowly, it lost strength and collapsed. Samuel barely dodged being crushed, thrown backward by the impact. Samuel. Gilbert rode up and hauled him upright. Haha, we did it. Never do something that insane again. My heart stopped when you took that breath. I won't. Trust me, I don't want to either. Gilbert handed him the megaphone. Everyone. Can you hear me? The soldiers listened. The dragon. He paused. Is dead. Silence. Then murmurs. Then cheers. We won. Did we really? Against a dragon? We're going home. Ugh. The cheers turned into a roar. Thus, the first dragon slaying in human history was accomplished. The news reached Kukimis immediately. No one believed it at first. False information? Enemy propaganda? The Viscount bluffing? But the message carried Samuel's seal and a fresh dragon scale. It was real. The doubters and haters were a minority. A lie would be exposed quickly. Charlotte, good news. Sam is alive. Yes, yes. Noah told his sister first. She could barely respond. And he struck the killing blow. He what? How? Samuel was not a frontline fighter. He wasn't brave or strong. None of this made sense. The detailed report is from his deputy. Read it yourself. Scold him when he gets back. Charlotte read Gilbert's account, colored by his anger at his master's recklessness. He handed most of his tools to his deputy. Took only 3, charged the dragon, took a breath head-on, killed it but nearly got crushed? Brother, what does this mean? It means exactly what it says. Our friend is usually timid, but when he decides something, he goes all in. You know this. But why? He was promised his honor wouldn't suffer even if he failed. For the reward, obviously. He mentioned a reward too, but wouldn't say what. He didn't tell you? Well, I didn't give him permission to discuss it. He's scrupulous about that sort of thing. Then you tell me what the reward is. I'd rather not go behind his back. It's all but settled anyway. Look forward to it. Noah's smug grin irritated Charlotte. You're enjoying teasing me, aren't you? Just for today. Anyone else doing it, I'd stop them. She huffed, but knew her brother wouldn't budge. She would just have to wait. The day after the dragon fell, chaos reigned in the expedition camp. Gilbert was in his element, handling all the paperwork and logistics. Reports, requisitions, preservation of the dragon corpse. Gilbert, I've never been more grateful for your presence. Thank you. But you could help. No thanks. I move my hands, not a pen. Can you at least make magical tools to preserve the dragon materials? With that much residual magic, it'll stay fresh for months without preservation. Still, it's about appearances. People trust processed materials more. Fine, fine. I'll work on the runes. All the gold and treasure would be returned to Kenizika. The dragon corpse, however, was a different matter. Since no one had planned for a slaying, there was no prior claim. Samuel could technically claim it all, but the king and Kenizika would both want their share. Dragon parts were priceless. He set to work. A month and a half later, Samuel's forces returned to the capital in triumph. Samuel and Gilbert led the procession. Followed by a cart bearing the dragon's head, then the soldiers and spoils of war. The streets roared with cheers. Viscount. That's Gilbert. That head is huge. He's the one who killed it. Even among the celebration, Gilbert was the one drawing admiring screams from the crowd. Samuel awkwardly waved, and Gilbert nearly laughed at his expression. Just be natural. That bad? Maybe practice in a mirror for a year. I'll do that. They arrived at the castle. The commendation ceremony was about to begin. All 200 soldiers were permitted to attend, an unprecedented honor for commoners. The ceremony was held in the grand hall rather than the throne room. Nobles lined both sides, their gazes a mixture of respect, envy, jealousy, and awe. The king sat at the front, flanked by the Kenizekan royals and the full Kukimi's royal family. Charlotte was there. Their eyes met. Samuel gripped the tattered scarf at his chest. The commendation ceremony begins. Third merit, Prince Noah, third prince. He recommended Viscount Valois when no one else thought of it. That decision brought the best possible result. For your service to the kingdom, your inheritance ranking is raised. Noah is now second in line for the throne. The hall buzzed. The chancellor pressed on. Second merit, all members of Viscount Valois' expedition. They followed him, faced the dragon, and achieved victory. Each is granted a life-term knighthood and the Dragon Fong Medal. The king himself had named the award. The soldiers, commoners who had never even hoped to see the king's face, wept at this honor. First merit, Gilbert Henault. He supported Viscount Valois, performed a dangerous decoy mission, and managed post-battle logistics admirably. He is granted a barony, the Dragon Fong medal, and 1% of all dragon material proceeds. 1% of a priceless hoard. Enough to build a mansion in the capital. Finally, Samuel Valois. Step forward. Yes. This man's achievement is a special grand merit. The king's voice rang out. For slaying a dragon never before killed. For developing the weapons to do so. For leading a small force and personally striking the fatal blow. This goes beyond existing merit categories. I hereby establish a new honor, the Red Dragon Slayer Medal. Samuel Valois is its first recipient. He is also elevated to Count. Further, he receives 30% of all dragon materials. Use them as you see fit. The Count title. He had cleared the first condition. And Samuel Valois may name one wish, provided it does not infringe on the rights of other nobles. Yes, Your Majesty. My wish is already decided. What? Already? Are you certain it doesn't infringe on anyone's rights? As far as I know, it will not. Then speak. Samuel's heart pounded. He had never said these words in either of his lives. King Adam Cucumis. I, Samuel Valois, humbly request permission to marry Princess Charlotte. This was his true purpose. To marry the woman he loved. The hall erupted in murmurs. A former baron's second son, now a count, asking for a princess? The audacity. Only Noah was grinning. Wait. Count Valois. Is this truly your wish? Yes. I need nothing else. If you grant this, you may keep the materials and the title. He had wanted the count title because royal law only allowed princesses to marry down to counts. And Charlotte had no fiancé, so it infringed on no one's rights. Noah had arranged everything. The only catch was the impossible condition, defeat a dragon. I haven't refused. Charlotte. Your thoughts? Charlotte stood frozen, hands over her mouth. Ah, yes. I accept. Please take care of me. A stunned silence fell over the hall. That's not what I meant. I mean, it's not wrong, but... Laughter rippled through the room. The king finally understood Noah's grin. Noah, you knew this would happen. I'm just happy my friend is bringing happiness to my dear sister. Look at his scarf. The king looked at Samuel's scarf. Tattered and battle-worn, it was the same light purple as Charlotte's hair. And embroidered with his name. That scarf. Charlotte made it? Charlotte's face burned even redder. Samuel's too. The famous knight story, the lady gives her knight a scarf the color of her hair. Embroidered with his name. He slays the dragon and returns to claim her hand. She decided before he even left. She wanted him to propose if he drove off the dragon. I didn't think he'd actually slay it, though. It all made sense now. Charlotte refusing to arrange a marriage. Noah's too convenient defense of her. His careful setup at the council. I've been outmaneuvered. The king sighed in surrender. Count Valois. One condition. Yes. Make my daughter happy. That is all. I swear it. The king smiled a father's smile. Gilbert started applauding. The hall joined in. Noah pushed Charlotte forward. Samuel. I have loved you for so long. And I you, Charlotte. No one else ever looked at my creations with such joy. I have nothing to offer but my craft. But I will spend my life making you happy. Yes, gladly. Amid thunderous applause, they embraced. 3 days later, Samuel was summoned to the palace again for the formal list of rewards. The Red Dragon Slayer Medal and Dragon Fang Medal. Elevation to March Lord. The Western Territories of Kenizika within Kukimis. 30% of dragon materials, betrothal to Princess Charlotte. Though Samuel had said he needed neither territory nor materials, protocol demanded otherwise. The territory was granted to add weight to his new rank. Notably, not a single copper coin had left the royal treasury for these rewards. The finance minister was delighted. Samuel also met with the new Kenizekan Duke, the former Crown Prince Guernica. Samuel, you avenged my father and my people. I can never repay you. I only did what I could. Still, you even recovered my father's crown. Among the dragon's treasure had been the late Kenizekan king's crown, still stained with blood. He had clearly fought to the end. And to think you had already set your heart elsewhere. I can hardly offer you my sister now. I apologize for the awkwardness. Nonsense. Royals rarely marry for love. Princess Charlotte is fortunate, as is March Lord Valois' future wife. Samuel changed the subject. Why did you give up your kingship? It wasn't sudden. After we escaped, our situation became clear. We couldn't protect our land or our people, even with allies. The kingdom was already dead. So I chose integration as a subsidiary territory, preserving our house and bloodline as a duchy. That took courage. And concern for the people over pride. Your territory will border mine. Let's be good neighbors. I'll even add to my house rules, never move against House Valois, for they destroyed a dragon. Sounds like divine punishment, doesn't it? That sounds more like a curse than a house rule. People forget across generations. This will help them remember. Just let me know if you ever want a second wife. My sister is still available. If she's already betrothed, give me 10 years. I'll make a new one. Please no. One woman is enough for me. Harem fantasies aside, reality was different. Samuel wanted to love one person completely. A servant called him. March Lord Valois. Princess Charlotte wishes to see you. Samuel Valois, reporting at Princess Charlotte's command. Forgive me for summoning you. I would have come to you myself. Your position doesn't permit it. Thank you. Please, sit. Tea was poured. He took a sip. The same wonderful taste. But, something was different. About yesterday. I apologize. Whatever for? I never imagined you would ask for my hand like that. I'm afraid I said something strange. You mean when you accepted? I almost thought you were apologizing to call it off. Never. I mean, I see how it could sound like that. I'm sorry. I was too quick to misunderstand. And I didn't say anything too strange, did I? Everything's a blur. It was fine. Actually. He could almost hear her swallow. It was lovely to see such a cute reaction. Exclamation point. Completely unexpected. Charlotte turned crimson. Why? Did a man normally so poor with words manage to say things like that at the most dangerous moments? Samuel produced a worn, frayed piece of fabric. The scarf. Your charm gave me courage at the end. I bound my hand to my weapon with it, and never let go. Thank you. Even without divine power, knowing it helped him moved Charlotte deeply. And I apologize for ruining what you gave me. Don't apologize. I'm glad it served you. And, you already thanked me yesterday. He had declared before the entire kingdom that he needed nothing but her. That was thanks enough. Now it was Samuel's turn to blush. He tried to respond, but couldn't form proper words. Charlotte changed the subject. What are your plans now? I need to administer the new territory. Send word for those who fled to return. Build a manor. It'll take time before things stabilize. I can manage the household, but territory administration is a man's work. And you're not very good at it. You're right. Gilbert will help, but he can't do everything. Ask Noah to assign you personnel. He enjoyed himself the most out of all this, so he owes you. Just a recommendation would help. They discussed practical matters for a while. Then their conversation turned personal. When should we hold the ceremony? After the manor is built. I can't live in an inn as a married woman. And, we need an heir soon. Charlotte whispered, face red. Samuel froze. Did you just say? Forget you heard that. Understood. She breathed a sigh of relief. I'll mobilize the entire workshop to build the manor as fast as possible. Wait. That's not, ugh. Charlotte noticed his empty cup and poured more tea. Thank you. You don't have to. I enjoy it. It's become my hobby. Really? Why? Because, seeing someone I love drink with such enjoyment makes me happy. Now it was his turn to blush again. I'm honored. He took a sip. Definitely delicious. But this is different somehow. May I ask something? Yes. Did you change the tea leaves? The taste seems different from before. Better. Charlotte smiled. The tea is the same. But you say it's better. I'm glad. Glad? When you brew tea for someone you love, it just tastes better. At least, that's how I feel. Now he understood. Before, she had poured with fondness for a friend. Now, with love returned. So that's why I could never replicate it. He took another sip. This tea was the most delicious he had ever tasted. And he knew the next cup would be even better.